I wasn't planning on being out long. Just needed some stuff for dinner. It was one of those days when everything feels slow, like you're moving through mud. I grabbed my bag, locked the door, and headed out. Normal day. Too normal. I noticed him on the corner near my building, standing still, hoodie up. Didn't think too much of it. Cities are full of weird people. I crossed the street and kept walking. But when I turned the next corner, I saw him again. Or maybe it was someone else who looked like him. Same clothes, same posture, still just staring. I picked up the pace. It wasn't until I got to the store that I started to feel the pressure in my chest, like something was pressing down. Not fear, not yet, but a tightness, a warning that something wasn't right. I went inside the supermarket, bright lights, soft music, the kind of place where nothing bad ever happens. I slowed down, let myself breathe. I walked over to the produce station and started picking out tomatoes. That's when I saw him again. He didn't take a cart, didn't grab a basket, just walked in and stood near the entrance, watching. I moved through the aisles slowly, grabbing items I didn't even need just to buy time. Every time I looked over my shoulder, he was there, aisle after aisle, never picking up anything. Always close, but never too close. Except for once. When I stopped to check on some pasta, he passed by, almost brushed against me, held a bag of chips in one hand, barbecue flavor. Just one item, nothing else. I stared at the bag. It felt like he was daring me to notice. His face was blank, no curiosity, no distraction, nothing, like he was only there for me. I doubled back toward the canned food aisle, trying to throw him off, but 5 minutes later, he was there too, still holding the chips. Same posture, same dead stare. No phone, no earbuds, no reason to be here. I knew it wasn't in my head. I circled around, cutting through the frozen section, pretending to browse for long minutes. He followed at a distance, never looking away, never looking at the shelves, never looking at anyone else, just me. I tried to shake it off, told myself I was overreacting, but I wasn't. I could feel it in my bones now. That low hum of danger. My hands started to sweat. I went to the frozen section and stood there with the freezer door open. Cold air hit my face. I tried to clear my head. He stood at the other end of the aisle, just standing, holding the same bag of chips. I just pretended to call someone, put the phone to my ear and tried to sound normal. He didn't flinch, didn't move, just stared. Didn't even pretend to shop. It was like I was the only thing he could see. I moved to the bread section. He followed. I stopped. He stopped. Always the same distance. I felt like a rat in a cage. I went to the drinks aisle and bent down like I was checking for something. I watched his reflection in the glass fridge. He tilted his head slightly, like he was watching an animal in a trap. I stood up fast, almost dropped my phone. He didn't move. I left the freezer aisle and headed to the front. That's when I saw the security guard. Mid-40s, bored, leaning on the counter. I rushed over. "Talk to me, please. There's a man following me. I think he came in here behind me." He looked around. Nothing, just people shopping. I turned to point him out, but he wasn't there. He was just by the freezer holding a bag of chips. He's been following me. The guard walked a few steps, looked around, and shrugged. Said no one suspicious was there. I begged him to check the cameras. He said it wasn't his call. I wasn't crying yet, but I was close. He told me to stay calm, said maybe I was stressed. I wanted to scream in his face. I ordered an Uber right there at the checkout. Didn't even finish shopping, just grabbed a water and left. He wasn't outside. Maybe he gave up. I really wanted to believe that. The driver didn't talk. I liked that. I kept my head low and watched the streets. Still couldn't relax. Felt like my skin was too tight. My jaw hurt from clenching. I kept checking the rearview mirror. I got home and quickly locked the door. I checked every window, every closet. Paranoid, yeah, but I had to be sure. It was quiet. Way too quiet. But nothing was out of place. I dropped the shopping bag on the kitchen counter, took a breath, headed to my room to change clothes, then stopped cold. On the table next to the bag was a pack of barbecue chips, the same kind he was holding. It was half open, half eaten. I hadn't bought them. I hadn't touched them. I stared at them for a full minute. My throat went dry. My knees felt like they were bending inward. He had been here. Not just today. He'd been in my place before. Watching. Waiting. Planning. I backed away from the table slowly. Turned to run for the front door, but before I got there, something slammed into me from the side. Hard. I crashed into the glass shelf by the dining table. It shattered. Pain tore through my shoulder and leg. I screamed louder than I ever had in my life. My head spun, but I saw him clearly. He was above me now, the man from the store. Same hoodie, same dead eyes, smiling, not saying a word, just watching me bleed. I grabbed a chair and flung it toward him. Missed. Kept walking, steady. I clawed at the floor, dragging myself toward the hallway. He followed. No rush, no panic. I could hear him breathing. Shallow, excited. I reached for anything I could use. I found a piece of broken glass, sharp, wet. I held it in turn just as he reached for me. He didn't expect it. I drove it deep into his hand. The blood sprayed instantly. He let out a deep, low scream. Not pain, anger. He tried to grab me again. I reached the door and fumbled with the lock. He got close. The door flew open and I staggered out into the night, yelling with everything I had. Across the fence, my neighbor was watering his plants. He turned, dropped the hose. I kept screaming. He ran toward me, fast. The man in the hoodie stepped back into the house. Then he bolted, vanishing through the back. The neighbor called the police and helped me from the ground, and he asked me what happened. I couldn't get the words out. I just kept pointing at the house, at the blood, at the door. Cops showed up fast. I gave them everything I could. They took pictures, grabbed the glass with his blood, and checked the locks. He'd picked them. Clean, like he'd done it before. They didn't find him that night, but they would. They found footage from the store. I posted my own video too, showed everything I had. It went viral. Girls started messaging me saying they'd seen him too. Same guy, same hoodie, always the chips. One of them said he'd been outside her apartment for weeks. Another said he followed her home, twice. A week later, they caught him. He was trailing another girl a few blocks away. Same pattern, same dead look. Turns out, he'd been breaking into homes for months. Left no trace, didn't take anything, didn't hurt anyone. Not until me. He was patient, careful, smart. He liked being near, watching, getting close. Closer than anyone ever noticed.
Standing there. Yeah, because now it has you. It's not... It was there right next to you.
I downloaded the filter as a joke. It was one trending effect on TikTok that supposedly let you see ghosts. You turn it on, scan your room, and it randomly drops a faint figure into your space. Everyone was pretending to be scared for views. I thought I'd do the same, just to screw around for a couple of minutes. I tested it in the living room. Nothing. Bedroom. Nothing. Bathroom. Nothing. Then, I pointed it towards the chair in the kitchen. The image on the screen shuddered. Green lines formed on the chair. Then it shaped into a person. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was too stupid to believe. It had to be a trick, but something about the way it stayed frozen in the chair started to bother me. I tried the filter again the next day. Same thing, no ghost in the hallway, none in the kitchen. But the moment I pointed it towards the chair, there was a man, middle-aged, motionless, face pale and messed up, like it had been scrubbed out. It didn't react. He just stared forward, as if he'd been sitting there long. I checked different angles, different times of day, but it didn't change. I assumed the app was glitching, maybe anchoring the ghost to the shape of the chair for some dumb programming reason. Just to test the theory, I dragged the chair into the center of the room. The ghost followed, not the space, just the chair. I moved it again. Same thing. The figure stayed locked in place, always seated, always facing forward. I started recording it, trying to find a pattern. The more I filmed, the more consistent it became. I FaceTimed my boyfriend and asked him to try the filter. I showed him what I was seeing. He laughed at first too, until he saw how clear it was. He even admitted it didn't look like a generic overlay. It looked too specific, like someone had been scanned and dropped into the chair for real. That night, I moved the recliner into my bedroom, just to see what would happen. I wasn't scared, just curious. I figured it'd make good content. Around 2 a.m., something made me open my eyes. I didn't hear a bang or a voice. It was quieter than that. A dragging noise, barely audible, but steady. A slow scrape against the wooden floor, 1 foot at a time. It was coming from inside the room. I sat up, and that's when I noticed that the chair wasn't where I'd left it. It had moved several feet. It now sat in the center of the room, facing the foot of my bed. I didn't move. I just stared at it. Nothing else in the room looked different. Nothing was tipped over or broken. Just the chair. Then, I heard the noise again. One more scrape. It shifted another inch closer. I whispered my boyfriend's name, thinking maybe he snuck in to mess with me. No response. I reached for my phone on the nightstand and turned on the app. The filter activated. The ghost wasn't in the chair anymore. The cold grip of dread kicked in, not in my chest, but in the back of my throat. I scanned the room slowly, hoping it was a glitch. When I turned the camera to my left, I saw it, standing beside me, not sitting. Its blurry gray body right next to my face. I froze for a second, not out of fear, but because something hit me in that moment. It wasn't just standing there. It was watching me, closely. Then, everything snapped at once. A pressure hit my throat like a vice. Not soft, not vague. Real fingers. I dropped the phone as my back slammed against the wall. My legs lifted off the floor. It was choking me, dragging me up like I weighed nothing. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. My lungs burnt. I grabbed the invisible arms, but it didn't feel like air. They were solid, cold, and thick like steel cables. I kicked, thrashed, but I was off the ground, completely pinned. My vision started to warp at the edges. My nails clawed at whatever held me, but there was no give. I couldn't even cough. My body was just hanging there. Then, something slammed me against the bedroom door, loud, fast. My boyfriend burst in. The second he opened the door, the grip on my neck vanished. I dropped hard, landed sideways on the nightstand, and my right arm cracked. I screamed, not from fear, but from pure pain. The bone snapped, and I felt it twist under my skin. My boyfriend ran over, trying to lift me, but his eyes weren't on me. They were locked in the empty corner of the room behind me. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Whatever he saw, I saw too. The chair was back where it had started, facing us, even though no one had moved it. My boyfriend turned pale, and we both bolted out the room. We didn't even close the door. We just left it wide open behind us. At the hospital, we lied, said I tripped and fell trying to close the window. They didn't question it, just patched up my arm and sent me home. We barely spoke in the car. We knew what we saw. We knew what it did, but neither of us had the guts to say it out loud. As soon as we got home, we went back to the bedroom. The chair was still there, center of the room again. My boyfriend didn't hesitate. He grabbed one end while I supported it with my good arm. We hauled it down the stairs, out the door, straight to the dumpster. We didn't wait till morning. We didn't discuss it. We just did it. The chair hit the bottom of the bin with a loud crack. Something inside it broke, like a piece of wood splitting. We walked back in silence. My boyfriend locked the front door twice. Then we slept in the living room, lights on, backs against the wall. The next day, I checked the app again, even though I shouldn't have. I needed to be sure. I scanned the living room, the kitchen, hallway. Nothing. No ghost. I pointed the camera at the empty corner where the chair had been. Still nothing. It was gone. Whatever it was, it had been tied to that object. But that night, I had a dream. Or maybe it wasn't. I saw the chair. Not the one we threw out, but a different one. The same figure is sitting in it. But now, it wasn't just staring. It was smiling. The corners of its mouth stretched unnaturally wide, like it had waited a long time for something. I woke up sweating. The window was open. I hadn't opened it. We never told our parents, never said a word to anyone else. Even now, it's like a rule between us. Don't mention the chair. Don't talk about what happened. My arm healed, but I never went back to sleeping in that room. I stay in the living room with the lights on. My boyfriend sleeps with headphones in, drowning everything out. The chair's probably gone, burned, or dumped somewhere out of the city. But I can't forget the grip on my throat, the strength, the precision. That wasn't a ghost floating around for laughs. It was something alive, just not in the way we understand. It watched us for days, silent, patient, until it finally decided to act. I don't think it wanted to be seen. I think it was testing if we could. And it knows we did. 3 months later, and I'm still scared to scroll through TikTok. I deleted the app. But sometimes my boyfriend shows me dumb videos. And I swear I see the scene blur in the background of someone else's clip. A chair, a figure, always watching.
I was recording a dance for TikTok, same as always. No big production, just me, the camera, a ring light, and some pop track playing from my speaker. I tried the routine a few times already, and on the 5th take, everything looked good enough. The timing was fine. I hit the moves with energy, and I didn't screw up the spin at the end like I had before. It wasn't perfect, but I didn't care. I just wanted to post something before midnight. The house was quiet. I lived alone in a 2-story place that my aunt had left me after she moved away from the States. Nothing creepy about it, just a regular suburban house in a calm neighborhood. The kind of place you forget exists when you're not living in it. That night, like most nights, the windows were shut, doors locked, and the only light on was the one I was using to film. I sat down on the couch to check the video. I watched it back once. No lag, no glitches, good angles. I trimmed the beginning and end, added the caption, and tapped post. As soon as it uploaded, I tossed the phone aside and got up to grab something from the fridge. The phone buzzed almost instantly. One comment. That fast. I picked it up again. The message was short. It made me stop breathing for a second. The username was random, just letters and numbers, no icon, no followers. But the comment was clear. Who's that standing on your stairs? I stared at the words, trying to make them make sense. There wasn't supposed to be anyone else in the house. I hadn't heard a door, no creaks, no footsteps, just me dancing like an idiot in my living room. Still, I opened the video and scrubbed to the part where I twirled near the hallway, where the stairs were just barely in frame behind me. I played it slow, almost frame by frame. And then I saw it, just for a second. At the top of the stairs behind the railing, a shape. Someone was standing there, completely still, half hidden in the dark. It wasn't a shadow. It wasn't a trick of the light. There were no lights upstairs. The person wasn't moving, but they were there. I paused the frame and zoomed in. You could see the outline of a face. Not the details, just the shape. Too tall to be me, too still to be anything normal. I told myself it had to be a mistake. Maybe someone broke in. Maybe it was a reflection. Maybe I was being stupid. But I wasn't going to sit around guessing. I jumped to my feet and went for the front door. The lock wouldn't turn. I yanked the knob. Nothing. I checked the little bowl on the entry table where I always drop the keys. Empty. I searched the kitchen counter, the hallway drawer, under the couch cushions. Nothing. The keys were gone. My chest started to tighten, but I kept moving. There was no time to panic. I pulled out my phone again and called the cops. I gave them my address, told them someone was inside my house and that I was locked in. The dispatcher asked if I could see the intruder. I said no, but I had it on video. They told me to stay calm and wait. I hung up. That's when the lights went out. Not flickering, just died completely. Every bulb. The ring light shut off. The hallway light. The fridge hum disappeared. All went dead in an instant. I stood in the dark, still holding the phone, and tried to move quietly toward the kitchen drawer where I kept a flashlight. As I clicked it on, I heard it. A creaking upstairs. Not running, not loud. Just one solid press on a wooden stair. Then, silence again. My pulse was so loud I could hear it in my ears. I aimed the flashlight toward the staircase, but didn't see anything. Then I heard a scream. Something sliding across the floor. A chair. I turned the light toward the dining room. One of the chairs had moved several feet away from the table. It hadn't been like that before. I took a slow step back. The flashlight beam bounced slightly with my shaking hands. Then something upstairs fell, loud and sharp, like a heavy object tipping over and crashing to the floor. I turned toward the stairs again, frozen halfway between running and hiding. There was no logic left in me, just instinct. I didn't want to go up, but staying down here felt like waiting to be grabbed. Then my phone buzzed again. Another comment. Same account. You left the door unlocked. Upstairs. I backed toward the stairs, flashlight aimed ahead, trying not to make noise. Every step on the stairs creaked like it was screaming for attention. At the top, I turned left toward my bedroom. That's when I heard breathing. Not loud, not fast, but low and slow. Not mine. It was coming from the guest room, right across the hall. I kept going, didn't stop. Got to my room, slammed the door, locked it, and shoved the dresser in front. I backed away with the flashlight shaking in my grip, scanning every corner of the room. I thought about the window, second floor, grass below. It might work. I needed time. Then the handle started to turn. It was slow, testing the lock. Then it stopped. A few seconds passed, and then the door was hit. Hard. Repeatedly. No shouting. No threats. Just pounding. Pure, steady force. I held the dresser tight, pushing back with everything I had, teeth clenched. Then, silence. A full minute. No sound. And then, something slid under the door. A photograph. It was me, earlier that night, standing in the kitchen. taken from behind. The picture was printed, real. My hands started shaking worse. I turned around. That's when I saw something move outside the window. Just a flicker. I froze. A face behind the glass. Not clear, not detailed, just the shape. Watching. Waiting. I stumbled back from the window, heart pounding. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I was shaking too hard to even speak. I backed toward the wall, flashlight still in hand, but the beam barely covered the center of the room. The window was still open. The dresser was still at the door. I had nowhere to go. And then I felt it. That someone was inside the room. Not behind the window anymore. Inside. The door hadn't opened. There'd been no sound. But I knew I wasn't alone. I aimed the flashlight wildly, sweeping every corner, but I saw nothing. It was like he was hiding in the blind spots, moving just fast enough to avoid the light. Then, something rolled across the floor toward me. I looked down. One of my earrings. The one I'd left in the bathroom. My knees buckled. Had he been there? He was watching. Probably still was. I stayed still. Completely still. My body refused to move. I couldn't see him, but I knew he was close. I felt him. The kind of feeling that doesn't come from imagination. I pointed the flashlight at the closet. Nothing. Then I swung it to the bed. A footstep. I heard it. Right behind me. That broke the freeze. I turned, ran, shoved the dresser aside, unlocked the door, and threw it open. I didn't stop. I ran down the hallway toward the stairs, nearly falling on the way down. I didn't even look behind me. I just kept going. The front door was still locked. I turned toward the living room. I could hear footsteps now. Not rushing, just steady, measured, like he was enjoying it. I turned and ran toward the side window, the one above the garden. I didn't care how high it was. I threw it open. Behind me something crashed, wood splintering. He was close. I climbed out the window, legs first, turned, and jumped. The fall hit hard. My ankle twisted when I landed, pain shooting up my leg. I bit down and limped fast across the lawn. I didn't look back. I didn't care where he was now. I just needed distance. I made it to the neighbor's house. They opened the door. I collapsed inside. They called again. This time, cops came. But it didn't matter. They searched the house and found nothing. No footprints, no signs of forced entry, no photos, no stranger on any cameras. They said maybe I was tired. Maybe I imagined it. But I knew better. I never went back. I left everything there. Clothes, furniture, all of it. I didn't want anything from that house, not even the videos I used to film. I deleted my TikTok, blocked the account, never posted again. But sometimes, at night, I still get notifications. Private messages, new followers, all from accounts with no names, no photos. One of them messaged me last week. Nice jump.